Okay, cool. Look, see, I got my DJI and it's hooked up, and it's hooked up to my phone. And there, I can control everything on my phone. But yeah, so, all right, cool. Doing a video today, and let me introduce myself. My name, as usual, my name is Brian, and this is my 2019 Q50S Signature Edition rear-wheel drive 3.0T. And I'm going to do a video today. I have already had the car for a year and a half, for people that don't know, and I have installed the Berger Motorsports heat exchanger in there, and so I've been running around with that for about a year now. Yeah, about a year and a couple months, and now I'm going to just on a whim, I think I want to do something a little bit different, so I purchased the PLM heat exchanger, and going to install that, going to replace that. Other than that, yeah, there has been a delay, and I want to tell you, my car has been in the shop. I took it into the dealership just to document and see if they could find anything, with the transmission or the torque converter, and it was a no-go. But in the process, they damaged my driver's seat. Someone got in there, I don't know who, but it was out of my possession, and they got in with something in their back pocket likely, and it scratched up my seat right there on the bolster, and kind of sliced into it. And so they, I talked to them about it, and they got me a new seat cover, and in the process they told me, that just the upper portion of that seat cover was $1,000. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, or if that's elaborating or making it sound like they're giving me, going way out of their way to make me happy. But otherwise, my seat got damaged, and so it was there at the dealership for like 5 days, for like 30 minutes for them to install that seat cover. So that's where my car's been, long story short. So now I'm getting in, I got it here, and I've got it up on my jack stands for the front, and I've removed let's see if you can see that, removed my front wheels just to give me access to getting under the car, and to remove some panels. And then when I pull the bumper off, I've got some things in here that have to be detached and unclipped. I've got the parking sensors and the camera, and I've pulled that off before to do my Berger Motorsports, and man, it was just, when it hangs down, there's only a certain amount that the wires will allow you to hang it down or set it down. So you have to hold the bumper cover up while you're trying to reach in there and undo all this stuff. It's just a nightmare. So now, since I've already done it, I'm ready in advance. But now I'm going to get that done.
Also, too, while we're here, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you like my content, and click the bell notification to get notifications in the future.
Hey, also, too, I'm really happy to announce, I finally got off my ass, and I got another LED 5,000 lumen light mounted in here. So now it's not dark over here. It's light. I have so much more light. And that's all done to improve my video quality. I am a photo guy, and I know all about photography, and so video is just an extension of photography. But there's just so much that goes into making good videos. So I got that new light, and I took some of the time yesterday where I should have been installing this. I mounted that light. I had to go up in the attic and construct all this stuff. So more light in here, better videos. So all for y'all. And I always like to make quality content, and everything I do is, if I do it, it's worth doing, and I want to do it well. So cool. All right, so one of the deals that I am proud of, and I love my car, and so I want to do everything to the ultimate protection. And so if you've seen and followed my videos, I've got, I think, 100 plus videos on this car, is that everything I do is meticulous. Other people, will say, well, I'm careful, but I am ultra careful. And so taking this bumper off, I learned last time, this is a major area that can get damaged when this bumper cover comes off. So you really need to protect that, and you'll see that in the AMS videos and the Mishimoto videos, where they go the extra mile when dismantling or taking parts off the car and putting parts on the car. because there's customer cars and they're probably just as particular as I am, and they have much more expensive cars. So you really want to get some of this painter's tape and put this all around this light, because last time when I did the Burger Motorsports, man, I was just having to be real careful trying to put this on and off and not scratch this because I didn't have the tape. And so as you'll see, that was one point in my other video where I got a little bit stressed out and it was, like saying this sucks. But yeah, so now I've learned you want to put the painter's tape on there, and you want to do all this correctly and make sure everything is done right. So I'm going to put this on and then start tackling taking off the front bumper cover. And that's one thing I've done with where I took the wheels off. I just want to explain. I'm not going to shoot this whole thing, this whole process. There's plenty of other videos now since I did this a year ago that go more into detail of removing all this. But I'm going to touch on certain things that I think are really important to do to make this whole thing turn out to be a success. And then I took the wheels off because I may need to go in and remove the front wheel, in the fender there, remove some of that, because there's some plugs in the back that you can go and you can disconnect, so that you're not sitting here holding this elevated above the ground and trying to reach your arms all in there and get these little connectors undone. So I may do that. I may need to have access, and then I'm also going to probably need to get under the car and be able to reach up and fiddle around in there, because there's just a lot of connectors, and they run and they mount and they're captured the wires, and so some of those wires have to come off so that I can get a little bit more distance to get the bumper out. So like I said, I'm very particular, and then I'm not going to remove all these plastic pieces here. I'm just going to lift these up. Mishimoto Video is a really kick-ass video. They really go to the extra detail to professionally install their heat exchanger. And if I was working on a customer's GTR or something and I was a shop, I would definitely likely remove some of those things, because you want to do the job. You want to do a really good job. You don't want to scratch, you don't want to bend, you don't want to potentially break anything. So these come off, but you can lift these up and get under there if you have the correct socket and extensions and some wobble sockets, and you drawing a blank on the U-joint, so you can bend around some angles. But I just want to bring that to you and just be forefront with that I'm going to do a lot of these things. So I think it's very, very important, and you want to take care of your car, and you don't want to scratch anything up. My car is almost scratch free. Okay, so tape. All right, real quick here, I got the blue tape installed nicely on both sides. I'll cover that a little bit more, but you want to use blue painter's tape because it doesn't leave residue, and so when you pull that off, you're not going to have that residue and then have to scrub that off and scratch your lenses. These are, I assume, are pretty expensive, and I don't want to damage those or scratch those. So yeah, so that's why I'm using blue tape, and that's why I went to Home Depot and installed the vice grips, the knockoff vice grips. So there you go. All right, this is just going to save. I'm sorry I'm making the video so long without even getting to installing the heat exchanger. This is going to keep me from cursing and looking unhappy in the video. These are my front Verde wheels that are off the car currently, and I'm just going to, and they're the perfect height, and they were staring at me in my living room. I'm just going to use a towel and cover them up, and use that when I pull the bumper cover off to just drop it down and support it without me having to sit here and hold it and get under there and get the wires and start cursing and yelling, and then you getting turned off because I'm pissed in the video. So use what you can. Being prepared helps make the situation a lot better with you being prepared for it, and doing the burger install before. I know exactly what sucked and what's going to help. So just want to pass that along to everybody, or someone that's trying to do this and really wants to take care of everything. I will not set my thing down on the bare concrete. I mean, it's going to sit on a towel or a blanket. Nothing that basically comes off my car is just going to get discarded on the concrete and get scratched up. So there you go. All right, so likely I'm just going to show you real quick. Something that helps is just always having the right tools. I just got a little small socket or ratchet handle extension, a swivel with a 10mm socket, and that's going to help me to get under here and get those brackets off, and then allow me to start to get the front clip off. All right, so I'm just going to share with everybody, since I've done this 2 times, just real quick. When I start taking apart parts, I'm going to take detailed pictures of close-up pictures of everything, because every time I take a bunch of stuff apart, I come back hours later or the next day, and I just cannot remember exactly how something was, and I get in a little bit of a panic and make sure how it fits. So I take detailed pictures of everything. Got a cell phone, it's so easy to do. And then once I shoot the parts, I'll come in my phone and rename them. And so that shot was driver's side number 3 picture. So I save it. So now I've got detailed pictures of exactly the orientation of that part. So that, I mean, I'm just telling you, this is so helpful. And I'm trying to do this more and more as I progress doing these things, and it's going to be so helpful. So with that said, also, I'm going to just follow the rules. I think the Mishimoto install is a really great video on how to professionally do this install, to make sure everything is taken super care of, and everything is, you're not having to force fit anything, you're not having to pull anything super aggressive, you're not having to yank some wires, you're not doing anything detrimental to the car. So I'm going to pull this fender well out, and then this whole thing, a couple of screws under here, and this whole thing comes out, and I've got full access to the back end of this car here, so I can, or the back end of the clip, the front clip, so I can pull some wires out and see what I'm doing a little bit better. Okay, see, by taking off the inner fender well right here, I have access to unhook a lot of these essential wires, connectors that are going to the fog lights and the camera and the different sensors. And so I just pulled this one out right here, just a simple clip, use some pliers on the other end, pull that out without damaging it. Don't ever force anything, but pull this one out, and then that'll allow me at least to get this side of this bumper free. Then I'll have to do that on the other side. So just good things to know. You don't ever want to force anything, make it fit, pull anything too hard, because that can lead to electrical issues. So very important. Perfect solution. You may not have wheels, or maybe you can come up with something that's about that height. Maybe that's 8.5 inches wide wheels. So that'll give you an idea. But yeah, so that's everything. And now I can get to unclipping everything and then removing this whole big front clip piece and putting this out of the way, and then getting to the heat exchanger. So just trying to pass along more helpful information for more people as they get these 3.0T turbo cars and they want to do this heat exchanger install. So, all right, to get your AMS Mishimoto PLM heat exchanger into this area, you're going to need to, just like the Mishimoto install video, you're going to want to take off some things, because you definitely, in my opinion, you don't want to force the heat exchanger. There is not much room right here. It can be done, but you will end up mashing up a lot of your vanes, and you will end up torquing the heat exchanger a little bit, because it's not super sturdy. I mean, it is mainly consisting of these vanes here and these little bitty channels, so it is easy to kind of stress and tweak. So you want to take off at least maybe this driver's side bracket that comes off to the crash bar, and that's 4 bolts. Not a big deal at all. 18 pounds, I think, is what the torque is on the bolts. This one may have to come off. And then you'll also want to do is you'll want to take this little, very easy to get off, just a couple of turns on the nuts, and this little bracket that mounts, helps your aftermarket intercooler or heat exchanger to mount right there. That comes off really easy. And then what you're going to want to need to do, in my opinion, to do it professionally and not be in a hurry is remove, I've already started a nut right here and a nut right here and 2 nuts right here that is going to allow this to lift off, and then the core of my radiator is going to be able to be pushed up a little bit and pushed backwards, and it's going to give me a little bit more room to squeeze in my PLM unit or Mishimoto or AMS. It's almost, you've got to do that. It seems like a lot more effort, but man, effort pays off in the end. And you know, you got to do this stuff professionally if you care about your car. So that's my opinion, you know. Okay. All right, super easy. I just want to, you know, this might seem like a terrifying thing. I just put some little sockets under here to just elevate this bracket off, because I don't want to take too much off and have it go out of alignment with the hood. But this lifts up quite a ways, and then you just lift up right here and push back, and it gives you maybe a 1/2 inch. Same here. Just lift this up, just grabbing a point, and then this comes out of its little mounting hole and scoots back maybe a 1/2 inch. Man, it's going to make this just so much easier. It's a got to do so that you don't damage putting your other one in. It's just super easy, and it makes sense. So there you go. And so now I just need to secure the inner fender wells here and put these back in. As you can see, I clean everything. These things get really dirty. Everything I put back or I take off and I put back on, I go in and I clean everything, even though it's going to get dirty, you know, as soon as I drive it again. Just make sure it's, you know, because some of these parts, you know, you can't get to when you're normally cleaning the car, but when you take it apart, you can go in and clean up and just touch it up. And just make the car just look better overall, and knowing in your mind that some things just more attention to detail. I didn't spend a whole lot of time. I just cleaned this up. It was really dirty, as an inner fender would get. So yeah, so put that on next, and the other one on the passenger side, and secure this up, and then put the wheels and tires back on, and we'll be good to go. Is now just checking. I filled up everything as much as I could, and it would probably be good with that the cap that comes off the top of the passenger side of that heat exchanger. You know, I just took a let me just show you why I've got it, because it is very small, and so you're gonna need to go get what I did, a little turkey baster. And something that I did different this time, because I live in Texas, and it doesn't get down to below 0 or 10, you know, or 15, or I mean, it can, but it's not for extended amount of time, and it doesn't happen often. This year, it's 30 has probably been the lowest it's gotten, and so I was informed that water works better than an antifreeze mix, or you know, the 50/50 coolant. Just name drop, Joe Tech was like, man, we know for a fact that you know, more of a pure water solution is going to help lower the temperature better than a 50/50 mix or a 20 or a 30. But you still need to have some coolant or some antifreeze mixed in to the coolant. So, you know, I'm just guessing, you know, maybe a 15% to water to the coolant or the antifreeze. So it's predominantly water, which is going to give me an advantage in the cooling department. So, you know, I took a lot of water, distilled water, and filled this up, and then, you know, slowly fed that into the top of the heat exchanger right down here, because you can clearly see that little cap, and you can put it in right there. Filled it up, and then I filled this back up, because this went empty, and then I filled this back up with the 50/50 Nissan coolant. So. And a lot of coolant came out when I did this exchange, and it was contaminated from dust falling off the top of the car and different parts, and so I wasn't going to reuse that, but I had extra coolant, so 50/50 Nissan blue coolant. So I just put that in there. So, you know, it's just a ballpark. As long as it looks blue once it mixes, then I should be good, you know, for, you know, 30 to 40 degree weather You know, I wouldn't do this if you live in a negative 10 or a 0-degree climate for many months on end. I would go ahead and maybe, you know, do a 30-70 or a 50-50 if you know, you don't want to jeopardize anything freezing up. So just that. So I'm going to get into this real quick because my video is really, really long. So let me get this straight here. Okay, so it is sticking at negative 20 on my pressure gauge right there. So it's holding, so pulling a vacuum. So obviously my system is holding. There's no leaks anywhere, which is good. I had to shut this valve off and not just this valve. And so I got a little scared there for a moment because it was dropping back to 0. So a little bit of a heart palpitation. But yeah, it's holding now at negative 20. So a vacuum. So we're good. I think that should be everything. It's should have bled out the you know, any spots that got empty in there, and so now it should be full. So I may have to just suck a little bit out of my overflow container and put that in the trash. So there you go. Start driving it and get some data and some interesting content coming. Yeah, so look forward to that. A lot more to come, and I appreciate you watching my video. Sorry if it's too long and drawn out. It's details that I want to touch on, and that's just the way it is. But other than that, thanks for viewing, and come back and check out more of my videos and check out my previous videos. I've got I think 100 car videos on this car of all kinds of different things that I've done to it and things I've experienced. So yeah, that's it. And again, my name is Brian, and I'll catch you on another video. Bye-bye.